Hi, everyone. With me today, I have the wonderful Nikki Everett. She is an author who talks about mental health, trauma, violence, and also the owner of the brand She is Mental. Nikki, thank you so much for joining. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
First, really easy question. Where in the world are you?
I'm in Geelong, just near Melbourne in Australia. So it's morning
Wonderful.
here. Yeah.
Yeah, she's time traveling. She's in the morning, I'm in the evening, the day before. So thank you for getting up to join this. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
So let's start very simply with what has led you to where you are now? What do you actually currently do or what do you talk about?
Oh. Um, well, I think I believe that everyone's got a chapter in their life that significantly changes them to their core. You know, you are a person before this chapter, and you're a completely different person after this chapter. And the chapter often consists of traumas and stresses and a period of healing. So for me, it happened back in 2017. I was working in the prison system at the time. I'd, I'd gone through about a 2-year period where I'd experienced 5 separate, very violent events while working in the prison system. And, I just kept pushing on thinking, okay, it's not really affecting me. But each single event sort of started crumbling my mental health. And I didn't address it. I just kept going, busying myself with work. But eventually, life just hits you from the side. So on this one particular day, I was working in the prisons. I'd just been in speaking to a prisoner in one of the housing units. Walked out into the yard, and another prisoner was walking towards me. It's like he was just about to say something, and a prisoner jumped out and started stabbing him. With that, I was caught in amongst it. There was prisoners behind me, prisoners in front of me. They were almost, yeah, I felt trapped within this circle of prisoners jumping around, and something happened in my mind. I broke. I was sort of outside my body and disassociated, and it was the pivotal point that changed my life. Mm.
I mean, what you just described is obviously incredibly traumatic in any environment. Was there any training that you had done that had helped you to manage this in the past that so they stopped working, or is there an element of nothing can prepare you for that and you just take it until suddenly you can't take it anymore? Do you think that's a big issue with the prison service?
I think there's no. Well, I'm not a guard. Used to run group work and project management, so I'm not trained for violence. You understand it's a world of violence. You understand that I've seen violence before. I've dealt with it, but I think this was too close, and there was too many different things that had happened. Too many experiences of violence over that 2 year period that I didn't probably deal with properly. Yeah, that there is a service that you can go to and go and talk to people and things like that, but you just busy yourself. You just think, oh, well, this is part of the job. I'll just keep going. Until something happens where your brain says no more. I busied myself. I was under stress with the violence. I was feeling nervous all the time, but I just kept pushing it away. And then so nothing really can prepare you for seeing someone getting stabbed in front of you. It's just a surreal, horrifying moment that just stays with you for life. Gave me nightmares, and yeah.
So what happened next then? So the sort of you get out of that situation, then what do you do?
Yeah, so I actually can't even remember how I got out of it. I know that a prisoner was calling me my name, and something sort of snapped, and I came back into the moment. I was frozen in time. I made my way back up to the housing unit, and let an officer know, a guard know, and he called a full prison lockdown. Um, and I suppose this was compounding because he told me to go back into the unit, and I was standing there, and then all the other prisoners came out of their cells and sort of bottlenecked the doors. So I felt trapped again. Um, and then all I remember from that point is everything went quiet. I don't remember the prisoners being locked back in their cells. I just remember the prison was quiet, and someone come up to me and said, you can go now. So I left and went home, and I couldn't stop shaking. I couldn't actually string a sentence together. That's actually stayed with me. I went from being a capable, competent, professional woman who used to speak in front of I used to run group work with prisoners. I used to speak in front of training sessions. And then all of a sudden I couldn't string. I'd lost my ability to communicate, which frightened me more than anything. And I was having nightmares over that weekend, and I ended up going to the doctors, and that's when he said, "Look, I think you've got post-traumatic stress. I'm going to book you in to see a psychologist and a psychiatrist for some medication." So that was the beginning of the journey with seeing them. And again, I couldn't speak. I spoke in jagged sentences, and I think that's how my psychologist got me to work with her. She said, you need to go home and write. And then she read back to me stories. She read back to the stories that I was writing about. And and that's where the journey of the book came about. But I'd never intended on writing a book. It's just that's how it all came about.
I want to ask you more about the journaling's writing process. So this is a really good therapy tool. Had you written much before, just from a journaling point of view? Was this a new thing you did?
Completely new. I'd written programs for work, but they were programs, that. And I'm a horrific speller. I can't spell, and I'm a terrible writer too. I've got like grade 3 writing. So the thought of it, and she really made it clear, you aren't to write on the computer. You need to handwrite. Something about the brain and the body is writing.
Yeah.
And then I had this other challenge because during the stabbing, I was holding my folder so tightly for about an hour in my hand. I had this phantom pain up my right arm, so I couldn't write with my right arm when I was thinking. So I had to start with my left arm. So it was scribble. But
Oh, wow.
yeah. But as she said, whatever comes out, comes out. And as time went on, I started to be able to write coherent sentences and then stories, and and then it got to a point where she said, this is a book. This is a book. This could help people. And which it took me off guard because, I'm not a writer as such. But it's been the most amazing experience. Hard, but also very, very healing.
How long has the process been so far for the healing journey?
For the healing journey, it's been 7 years. It's been 7 years since it happened, but I could even go back further because there was those other, 5 events, with the prison riot, and I was caught up in, I was trapped in a woman's house who was having a mental health episode, and then there was another big prison fight, and then there was one of my best friend's suicides, which I witnessed. So there was all these little events, well, not when they weren't little, there were all these events, and then it all just sort of came up to this one big thing, and then it just it broke me, completely broke me.
Understandably. I mean, any one of those things could have broken anybody, let's be honest. So
Yeah.
you endured a lot. What was the range of emotions? So obviously you talked about fear, the freezing. Did you experience sort of a roller coaster of emotions as you went through this process?
Yeah, I did. I lived with flashbacks. Well, I still live with flashbacks. Fear became my companion. I went from walking around maximum security male prisons. I wouldn't say I was comfortable, but I was comfortable enough to. I couldn't even walk around the supermarket. Jittery and just anxiety and disassociated a lot, which was a whole new experience. That was quite frightening at the beginning, but then it became my sort of thing that saved me at times when I couldn't deal with things. And then I think eventually I came to acceptance. I fought it a lot. I didn't want to be this person. I wanted to go back to the person I was before. I wanted to be that professional that I'd worked so hard to achieve. I'd worked my way up to the, quite high in the justice system. And that's who I wanted to be. I'd worked hard to be her. So I resisted, that this is going to be me from now on. But I think the healing started when I just accepted, no, this is going to be a new me. I need to get to know her, and I need to know, what this new person is all about. So I think I came across, I was reading a lot, and I came across that Japanese, in Japan, continue life. I think that's what it's called.
Okay.
Where there's a broken piece of pottery, and rather than throwing it away, they repair it with gold, and they highlight the imperfections and the flaws, and they make it more beautiful and unique. And that sort of resonated with me. I thought, yes, I don't need to hide my flaws. I am actually more than I was before, rather than, less than. And that's how I felt for a long time. I felt less of a person because I had a mental health issue. And it was a real changing point in the way I viewed myself.
I really thank you for expressing that in that way, because I think that's how a lot of people feel with mental health issues, that somehow they're lesser beings because they have these moments, these challenges. And I think that the comparison you've made to that Japanese pottery process is a beautiful one, but also one that reminds us that we learn through these things. We grow through these experiences, and it may not be things that we chose. It may not be what you wanted. I'm sure you didn't want any of that stuff.
No.
But the fact that you've turned it around, and that's made you greater than what you were before, perhaps.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. I feel like I lived such a long time through this chapter of being almost apologetic for existing. That I wasn't strong enough, and that you're embarrassed that you've got this. You're living with a mental illness, and that's not the way. That's not the case. I'm actually that same person I was before, only I'm more. I've got more experiences, and I think that was the key. I'm never going to be cured of living with complex PTSD, but just that acceptance of myself has made my life so much easier. It's made. I used to beat up on myself. Like, now it's just like, no, this is me. This is who I am. This has actually made me a bit more interesting, even a bit more unique. And it's just made life that much easier living with complex PTSD.
Oh, amazing. And then, so the book, so what is the purpose of the book, and who is it for?
I think initially the book was for me. And it's been, like I said before, it's been one of the most difficult, amazing journeys that I would never never change for the world. It was just an experience that has made me who I am today. I feel like the book is for anyone who's experienced trauma, from childhood trauma to violence, abuse, any trauma that they've experienced. Someone who's living with someone or supporting someone who's experienced trauma, and also someone who's learning about trauma, someone who's studying and wanting to help people. I don't come from it's not from a clinical perspective. It's from a lived experience. It's my soul to your soul, talking about my day-to-day experiences. I do talk a lot. It's a lot of stories in it. I talk about the prison stories, psych unit stories, my healing stories. But there is violence in it, but it's a book of hope, and it's a book of transformation. It's actually a positive book. Yeah.
And how else has your life changed now? So, like, if you haven't gone back to this prison work, so are you doing anything else now that you've written the book?
I actually am. Lifeline. Have you got Lifeline over there and where you are?
Don't know. Is it like the Samaritans?
It's organisation that you can ring if it's a trauma line that you can ring 24 hours a day. It's run by volunteers. It's all across Australia. You actually don't have to experience trauma. You can be lonely, or just when you need to connect with another human being, you can ring and just chat. And it's an amazing service. So I've become their ambassador. So we're launching the book with their backing, and so it's I don't know where it's going to take me, but I feel like it's the right path. It's just things. It's like the book's got a life of its own now, and it's over there. I've birthed the book, and it's over there living it. I've got the weight. I'm carrying the weight from 2 years of sitting there eating and writing to prove it, just like a pregnancy. But yeah, I'm just going to wait and see where it goes. It's just people are relating to it, so it's a really great thing, I think.
No.
And I'll seeking to do some speaking events thing as well, so that would be good.
Amazing. With any mental health crisis, obviously you've gone through what you've gone through. How did it affect those around you? So your family, your friends, did they, what sort of journey did they have? Do you know?
Yeah, there was a lot of waiting for me to go back to the person I was, particularly in the beginning. It's like, well, when are you going to be normal again? When are you going? when are you going to just get over this? Particularly with complex PTSD, a lot of people tend to relate that to combat soldiers who have been to war.
Mm.
They don't really relate it to everyday life, and so they didn't understand. And I think a lot still don't understand it now. So it's been a journey. There was a time, it was my middle daughter's birthday, and it was just sort of after that period, and she'd planned it in a really busy restaurant, and it was only probably a month after the stabbing, and I really wasn't doing anything or going out, but I had to go to her birthday, of course. And I remember I was just sitting there, and I ended up seated in a place where the back of the room, my back was to the back of the room where all these busy people, everything was happening behind me. And I couldn't sit still. I was constantly checking behind me. And my eldest daughter leaned over, Mum, please just act normal tonight, please. And I thought to myself, this is me acting normal. This is as normal as I can get in this environment. It was exhausting. And suddenly my son-in-law came around and he said to me, let's change seats. I think you'll be more comfortable with your back towards the wall. And that was life-changing. Like, that is now one of my tactics. If I have to go out anywhere, I will make sure I arrive early, and I'll make sure I'm always seated with my back towards the wall. And it makes my life a bit more comfortable. I live uncomfortably anyway, which is the title of the book, Uncomfortably Comfortable. But I've learned to live comfortably with being uncomfortable. Yeah.
What other uncomfortable things do you have to go through now that you didn't before?
Well, it's the things that you don't expect. My doctor wanted me to go to the gym because a lot of people with mental health issues find that really find it helpful. So I agreed. A middle-aged woman, I really wasn't wanting to go to the gym, but I thought, yeah, okay, I'll go. I went to the gym and I started, walking on the walking machine. All of a sudden, I heard this slapping from behind me. I turned around and there was a boxing ring set up in the corner. All of a sudden, the men's sweat, the sound of the hitting, I went into a flashback and was back in the prisons, and I just took off. So all those things, those little triggers that you just don't know when they're going to hit you from the side. You don't know what smell, what sound, what feeling is going to hit you, and it hits you, and you sometimes I lose all. I don't know where I am, and other times I'm half in and half out. So yeah, it's a real.
And how do you cope when you sort of wake up and go, "Gosh, where am I?" type thing, or
Yeah, it takes a while. It takes a while to come around. It's a flashback's really hard to explain. It's like you're sort of watching a movie in a movie, but yet it doesn't go from start to end. It's like flashes of different sounds and things you saw. And it's like you're somewhere else. You're in you actually, it's like the time traveler's wife type thing, or what's that other movie? Doctor Strange and the multiverse. You go back somewhere. You actually do. You go back somewhere else. Sometimes completely, sometimes half. And then all of a sudden you find, and you're a bit disorientated, and then you ground yourself and you bring it back to where you are. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's something. I'm so thankful that you're talking about it, because, as you say, people don't really understand it, and it is hard to describe. But I think it's something that people need to understand that could happen to anybody. When you say you were a combat soldier, no, I was in the army, but the things that you have described are very similar to what I've experienced in combat zones. Yeah. And so, you kind of were in a war zone. It's of its own thought. And I think that's the thing people to realize is it doesn't have to be called a combat zone to be combative. It doesn't have to have that label, or that it's any combination of these life challenging moments. It can be in a big crowd, something can trigger you. It can be even seeing things on TV, can be enough to trigger other things as well. So to your earlier point around people don't really understand, I think it's really good that you're talking about it, because it can be anybody. I've got a friend who was a nurse during the pandemic. She developed PTSD from just being on the front line, from treating all those patients and the death and the relentlessness. It's really, we need to do better with people to realize how we are affected in these areas. So thank you for sort of talking through that a little bit more.
Yeah, no, that's totally fine. I'm grateful that I get this experience, opportunity to share, what living with PTSD is like. Sometimes I feel like I heard it somewhere. It's like walking into an elevator, and knowing the door is going to open at the back. So you're standing there looking at the back, and everyone's looking at the front, looking at you like you're really strange. What's wrong with this person? Why is she doing this? She's making us feel awkward. All of a sudden, the back door's open, and they realize, oh, that's why she's doing this. And then that's what understanding brings. Yeah.
Have you? Go on, sorry.
No, you're right.
Yes. Have you reached a point where you no longer care what people think about how you behave to things? Are you still having that secondary kind of guilt around your own behavior?
I'm still conscious of it because I'm still very aware that people don't understand complex PTSD unless it is related to combat soldiers. That's where all the knowledge is gone. Everyone thinks about that, but I'm still conscious of it. But I'm more accepting of myself. I don't beat myself up as much. I don't explain myself as much. So I think that, and this is a lot of the reason why I'm passionate about the book too, because it does explain day to day how you live and why you react certain ways. And the body and the mind are amazing things. My body's off before my mind can even catch up. I'll get a trigger and my body's gone. It's off running, and it takes some time before my mind catches. Oh, actually, it wasn't a snake, it was a stick, and that's minimalized it. But yeah, your body reacts. So it's not like you can think yourself out of it reacting. It just happens.
It's really common what you just described. So from a neuroscience point of view, you're reacting from your fight or flight mode essentially, and that is instinctive. And what you then describe was your intelligent brain catching up. So what's happening in your case and people with PTSD in these situations is the emotional side of things takes over. That fight or flight response kicks in straight away. And in people who aren't suffering PTSD, what happens straight away afterwards is the intelligent brain goes, no, it's a stick, not a snake. But because you're stuck in that fear center, it takes a lot longer for that intelligent signal to get through. So you're just completely in survival mode.
Yeah.
And I think, again, what people don't realize is actually any one of us could react in this way with the right set of circumstances to push us into the emotional brain. Let's hope that we don't all have to, but it's understanding why that's going on is really important.
Yeah. And the shaking, I particularly at the start, and I still do it now, if, just shaking my hands, shaking my foot, tapping, that was a really tell sign to other people thinking, what's wrong? But I had that much energy just racing through my body that I couldn't stop it. It's just, and it wasn't until I was writing a book again and I did some research, and that's what animals do too. Animals shake off trauma. Even Indigenous Americans, they do the war dance. They shake off the trauma before, so it's a natural thing, but we suppress it out of embarrassment, and we really shouldn't. We really should let it out, and letting out the trauma is actually a really healthy thing. But it's like, stop your shaking. People say, stop shaking. Well, I'm trying, but actually it's the opposite. We should jump and let all this energy out. Encourage kids to jump around, and if they're upset. And so they're those little things that people don't understand that are actually good, but yet they think that strange by doing these things.
You make a really good point, because we've not evolved as much as we think we have from animals and primates, and that's the same with our brain. So I love the analogy you have of the animal shake, because it's right, they do that. And if we stop it, if the general populace stopped and thought, we have evolved very, very quickly, so quickly that our emotional brain, our amygdala, hasn't caught up with the new world that we live in, and so it reverts to those animal instincts, the shaking, the fight or flight. Like, we have all those instincts in us still. Now, we tend to think we live in a world where we shouldn't need them, but actually, to your point, that was totally the right response to have in your situation, the fight or flight, because that keeps you alive essentially.
Yeah.
And I always wonder how we normalize that for society to realize that that is a perfectly healthy response to high levels of stress or danger. And I don't have an answer.
No, it's one of those big questions, isn't it? That, it would be amazing. Like, um, if we could teach emotional regulation, I think it would be like it would stop. So it would stop it would help with addiction. It would help with, people going to prison. Emotional regulation is something that, yeah, we should teach more of, and just responses to trauma. And yeah, we really should teach more. But we don't.
Not yet. No, not yet. Maybe you'll change that.
Yeah.
Okay, start with Australia, then take it over the world.
Even if we can just get the conversation going, that's one step forward. So
Definitely. And that's another really good point. So have you got a vision of how wide you want to take this message? Are you thinking one step at a time, or do you kind of have a passion now for sharing it globally, or, affecting as many people as possible?
I would like to share. I would like to get the message out as wide as possible. When I first developed complex PTSD, the resources, the information, everything again was back to, the brave soldiers. Even the support, even the psychologist I went to, there was a support group there, but you had to be a combat soldier or you had to be a first responder. So I didn't qualify for anything. So I was left bumbling around trying to understand, how I can heal myself. And I think that that happens with a lot of people, rape victims and domestic violence. They don't class themselves as, someone who's living with trauma, or someone's living with complex PTSD, which means that they don't get the resources and they don't get the help. But I think by educating people that there is more, that, a lot more people need resources, a lot more help. So I think, yeah, as wide as I can, we can go. I think if I can get the message across to as many people as possible, that would be amazing. Absolutely. And it makes people feel heard, and it makes people feel not alone. If someone's talking about something that you've experienced, you just have this feeling of, not having to explain yourself, that they just get it. They just know.
Yeah.
And it's a real healing in itself, I think, when you meet someone who's been through similar experience to yourself.
It validates that you're not the only one.
Yeah.
And in like a tribal community that we all eventually are, you don't want to be different, really.
Yeah.
And so to know that other people, in a bad way, have gone through what you've gone in some, but does give you, it justifies, it validates what you're feeling. It tells you that you're not alone in this. And if you're not alone, then you're not the weird one, essentially.
And complex PTSD can be like that. We all have different experiences of how we developed complex PTSD, but I think we all have very similar symptoms, as in the flashbacks, the nightmares, the avoidance. So that's where we are the same, and that's where we can come together in the way we living our lives now and the way we're dealing with this condition. So, yeah.
Now, you have a rather fun Instagram set up, but she is mental. She is mental, isn't it? She is mental.
She's a bit both, but yeah, because I didn't have Instagram or Facebook or anything because I was working the prisons, of course. And I said to my daughter, "Can you set one up for me?" So in she rolls. She said, "Oh yeah, I've set one up. It's called She Is Mental PTSD." So I was like taken aback at the start, but I'm actually really like it now. I think it's very fitting, and people seem to like it too. So yeah, so I've so I'm busy putting up posts, and yeah, it's actually quite fun. Really like it.
Kids. And if people want to come and talk to you about their experiences or grab your book, it gets published in January, February?
March. We're talking, that's International Women's Day. So we're going to do a big event here in Geelong, 200 women. And and that's when the book comes out. I'm still in the process of getting the book cover design, so it's not out yet, but it definitely will be by January next year. So yeah, you can. I've got a website, Instagram, Facebook, and I'll get. I think you've got all those details. So yeah.
Brilliant. So I'll make sure that all your links are in the show notes. Anything else you kind of want people to know about complex PTSD that would have made a massive difference to you that might make a difference to other people?
Just understanding that everyone's journey is different. I think, I think with a lot of other but just that people's triggers are different, people's journeys different, and I think the big thing that your trauma doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be the biggest. It's a spectrum. It doesn't have to be the worst thing that's happened to you. Sometimes something that as little as something little can happen to you, but if you don't have those supports around you, that's what be the thing that can develop PTSD. Like, it's not a competition, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say. This is what happens with PTSD. Your words all mumble up, and so this is unfortunate. This is what happens. But yeah, I suppose it does. You don't have to have a really extreme event happen to you to justify why you've developed PTSD. I think sometimes we make it into a competition. Oh, she's had something really bad, so she's, or she shouldn't feel bad because someone's got it worse. But that's not the case. It really isn't. There's a lot of contributing factors, and the biggest thing is the support after trauma, and also things that led up to it. You may have had quite a few different little events that have happened, and then bang. So yeah, it's not a competition. It's not. And yeah, I think that's probably the biggest thing.
Everyone's trauma is valid.
Yeah, and unique to them, and very personal to them too. So I think we just have to respect people for where they're at and the experiences they've had, and try and understand each other, support each other very much. So
Definitely.
yeah.
Nikki, thank you ever so much.
You're welcome.
I said everyone find Nikki, support her book. All the links will be in the show notes. But I'm really excited to see what happens with the book launch, and I just hope you continue your journey the way you are.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. It's been wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you.